All right, I'm going to get us started. There'll be some more folks joining us as we move along. Again, we thank you for joining. If you're just now clicking on, we do have Tyler Burton and Jacob Gilliard with us, along with Coach Mooney. And if you haven't submitted a question already when you registered, you can still do so as we talk live and use that Q&A feature at the bottom of the screen for us as well. And we'll try and get to as many of those as possible. All right, Coach, let me just get going and get you to start things off, if you don't mind. A little bit at the halfway mark, maybe a little bit past halfway of the regular season. If you could kind of give us an analysis of just where you think the guys are at 10-4 overall, and getting into conference play now, and kind of the ups and downs of the season that obviously has been very disjointed with the starts and stops with the pandemic.
Yeah, thanks, Bob. Well, I feel like it's obviously such an unusual season, and there's different things that you have to adjust to, which you never would have to adjust to. And I think that, I think overall we've played well. I think we have in particular games or in parts of games we've played great, and have been really, really a tremendous team. In other games, I don't think we've played really poorly in too many games. But to find consistency is our goal all the time. And so it's just another or more of a challenge to do that this year. And so I think that's what we're really trying to do, is find consistency here as we enter the last couple of months of the season, in a time where it's going to be different, and a time where it's going to challenge you trying to be consistent. So, all in all, I feel like we have so many good games and good opportunities ahead of us. 2 games, the first one tomorrow with St. Louis, 2 games with VCU, a game at Dayton, a makeup game at St. Bonaventure, perhaps. So I feel like we have so many good opportunities and so much good basketball left to play that we put ourselves in a position to play well down the stretch, and I feel like we'll do that.
Let's get the guys' perspective on that. And Jacob, as the veteran senior guy, let me start with you and how different this season is from your first 3 and what you were probably expecting your senior season to be like, and kind of how you've dealt with it. I'm not trying to be negative at all, because it's been good. There's no doubt about it. But obviously we've all had to plow through the pandemic and the challenges it's presented.
Yeah, it's definitely been a little challenging for us. Once the season started to come around and we actually had real practice and we were getting ready for our first game, it kind of felt a little normal. But then, just everybody potentially being able to pause, and then us pausing as well, just kind of makes it difficult, makes it really different to kind of get in the rhythm. But, Coach has done a really good job of trying to keep us prepared for everything.
Tyler, there's a major difference between being a freshman and being a sophomore in college basketball. We see it all the time. And I think at the University of Richmond might even be a little bit more pronounced. What were kind of your expectations going into the sophomore season, and how did it kind of differ because of everything we've had to go through?
Yeah, like they said, it's just a different routine. It's hard to get into a routine because you never know what's going to happen. You could be playing today, you could be paused tomorrow, like we saw a couple weeks ago. But just the jump from being a freshman to a sophomore, you just come back more relaxed, more confident. You know what to expect, and then you just kind of take it day by day, like you did as a freshman. You just know what's coming ahead.
Coach, we like to say that the guys make their most improvement. Maybe you don't like to say, but it's out there. The cliche is out there from their freshman to their sophomore season. Obviously, Tyler's having a tremendous year. Has it been in the areas that you expected you would see the most growth from him this season?
Yeah, I would say so. I think Tyler has a chance to be really, really good at everything. So, I have really high expectations for him. I think the whole team has high expectations for him. So, when it's like that, there's, you anticipate that he could get 12 rebounds every game, or that he could make all these shots every game. But yeah, I think so. I think really the biggest thing is, as he said, confidence. And then you just know what to expect when you go to practice, when you go to watch film, when you go to a shoot around, travel, those things, you're much more at ease. And so you can concentrate on playing and competing. I think he works really hard. I think he's very motivated to be a great player. So yeah, he's improved at some of those things, but I feel like his ceiling's so high that we don't want to stop too much and celebrate it, and just keep kind of pushing him to be an even better player.
Tyler, I know we've talked about this a lot, but for some of the folks who maybe haven't heard your thought on this. How did your approach change when Nick went down with the injury and you knew, I don't want to say you're filling his shoes, but you certainly took his spot in the starting lineup, and how you kind of approached that to be in that starting lineup with Nick out with the injury?
I mean, it was a little bit of an adjustment just from a minutes perspective, but my approach didn't really change. I kind of always just want to come in and get better, make the team better, help us win. So I don't think that really has changed every single day. I just want to bring what I can to make us better and give us success on the court. So the only thing that really changed was the minutes. And then obviously Nick, he was a great shooter, a great leader, senior, really experienced coming back. So it's hard for me to replace experience because I'm only a sophomore, but I'm trying, and I'm just going to do what I need to do every single day and listen to Coach Mooney, listen to guys like Gilly and Grant, and just try to fill those shoes.
What was he listening to you from, Jacob? What did you kind of say? What did you guys, if anything, I mean, what did you really say or felt that you needed to say to Tyler as his role, changed pretty significantly all of a sudden? Nobody obviously expecting the neck injury.
Yeah, I thought he would give me a little credit. He didn't. Not surprised.
He gave you a little. He didn't give you a lot, but he gave you a little.
Right when it happened, I texted Tyler and told him basketball is a game of timing and opportunity. Unfortunately, that happened to Nick. I think Nick's one of the better people we have on the team. He's a great kid, great basketball player. But, I texted Tyler and said basketball is about timing and opportunity. So told him he'd be a fool if he didn't take advantage of it. He's a hard worker all the time. But I told him he's going to have to, I think it was our first practice. I told him he was only going to have a couple practices to get ready. He gotta has to take advantage of it. But I don't think we were looking for anybody to really replace Nick. I think Tyler brings a different dynamic to the team, and we were excited to see what it was going to be. And he's had a lot of success with it.
Let me get to some of these questions, guys, although I'm going to go to the timely one first today, Chris, that you've answered several times already. And if you could kind of give us, a little bit of a background and how it all came to be that the city of Richmond and our two schools in the A-10 will host the Atlantic 10 tournament. And the fact that it's split between two venues might be unique for any postseason tournament this year. I know you mentioned other conferences will probably go the campus route as well, but I'm not sure any of them are fortunate enough to have two teams in the same conference in the same city to split the tournament. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think it's really cool. I mean, it's obviously a potential benefit for us and for VCU, but I think it's a really cool thing to be able to showcase the unique dynamic that we have. A great rivalry in the city, the school's 6 miles apart, and we're hosting, the conference tournament at both sites. They're two really good arenas. It's a shame there aren't fans because you could probably catch all 4 games on the 2 days that there are 4 games by going back and forth. It's so close. But also, I think it's good that the university stepped up as a partner with the A-10. There's a million things that all these schools are trying to figure out and protocols they're implementing and, making sure that they're going on with their academic curriculum as they're negotiating the protocols for the virus and things. And so for us to be able to step up and be a host in the conference tournament, that's a really big commitment by the school and by VCU. So I think it's great that we're partnering, and it showcases that rivalry and the proximity of the two schools and working together with the conference to have a first-class tournament.
Guys, I want to get your opinion, and I don't want to jump too far ahead here because your focus does need to be on St. Louis tomorrow night, but it's obviously been a popular topic today. Jacob, having been through 3 previous Atlantic 10 tournaments, what are your thoughts on it being at home as opposed to going somewhere for the conference tournament at the end of the season? Obviously, the fan situation is part of that, but just more convenient to be at home, I know, but is there a part of you that said, wow, Barclays was a really cool NBA facility to play in, that kind of thing?
Yeah, it's a little bit of a bummer that we don't get to go to Brooklyn, but at the same time, in the past, we haven't really shot great in Brooklyn. So I'm excited to be able to play at home, and VCU it's not far down the road. So I think the lack of traveling is definitely going to help us a little bit, and we're just going to feel a little more comfortable, kind of being in a more familiar area.
Tyler, have you given it much thought yet about the conference tournament, which obviously is still 5 weeks away?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, I never had a conference tournament. Last year got cut off.
Oh, that's true.
This year will be my first one. It's pretty cool that we get to do it here in a gym that we shoot in every single day. So I think that'll just be a big advantage for us.
Yeah, I forgot about that, Chris. Yeah, I know you guys haven't. I know that's still kind of a motivating factor in this whole thing. So, yeah, so being at home certainly will help from that standpoint. Chris, let me get the most popular question out of the way here. And just before we came on, I don't know if you saw, but I was trying to jot down how many different people asked some form of this question. And I kind of, it is jumping to the future again, but that is the NCAA rule, giving everybody a sixth year back if you're, or a fifth year back if you're a senior, or an extra year wherever. Any thoughts yet? Any conversations? How you're going to handle the guys, whether they want to, whether the school wants them to? I think you understand the question, and it's literally 10 plus times on my list tonight from our Spider fans.
Yeah, I would say that naturally, we have this great group of upperclassmen, seniors who are not just really good players, but have done great things basketball wise for us and are great guys and good people to hang around. We have talked about it as a staff, and I just have no interest in talking to them about it at this point. We have St. Louis tomorrow and then a day off, and get ready for George Mason. And beyond that, I just think I don't think that would be fair to be talking to those guys about that. They have a lot of things they're trying to either finalize their last few courses in college, undergrad. They're concentrating on the game. They're dealing with all these things. I just don't feel like that's something that's important to throw into the mix. And we'll sit down like we do with the seniors at the end of every season to talk about what they're interested in the future. Most guys are interested in playing, and help them secure an agent and do the things that are going to benefit them for the rest of their lives, like their career at Richmond has. And if it comes up, then we'll explore it and talk about it. But at the moment, I want to see Jacob Gilliard have a great game tomorrow and do great things and graduate and hug his mom and dad at graduation and those kinds of things. But when the time comes, we'll sit down and talk about it, and that they're going to have opportunities that are pretty good and interesting and special, and we'll have to talk about it then. But I just think it'd be so premature. And, I've recruited Jacob Gilliard already, and as exciting and fun as that was, I love coaching him and talking to him, being around with him and traveling with him. So I don't want to lose out on that part of the experience. I don't want him or Grant or Nathan or Blake to lose out on that part of the experience either.
Jacob, I'm going to just ask one, and then we're going to move on from that, quite honestly. Otherwise, Coach is going to hit my mute button, I think, before anybody else does. But how much thought have you given to it? Have you seen other guys? I know there's some guys around the league that have already come out and said, I'm definitely not coming back, or I'm coming one way or the other, and just how you're kind of approaching this. And I know, you room with Grant Golden, and he's in a similar situation as well.
Yeah, kind of like Coach Mooney talked about. We don't really talk about it. We're focused on, this year and what we can do towards this year.
Tell us about your relationship and roommate status with Grant Golden. I did have that question from one of our Spider fans, that what it's like as roommates. So let's go a little behind the scenes here.
He wakes me up daily. He's always up early. He ruins my days. The house is never clean because of him. He showers for 5 years, it feels like. No, I mean, that's my best friend.
He better be after all that.
I think our relationship really grew our freshman year. We got really close. Rooming with him, it's no different than just seeing. I mean, we see everybody every day. It's like we pretty much room with everybody. We're always in the gym or the locker room talking, hanging out as a whole team. But me and Grant are really close. He's somebody that I'm going to talk to for the rest of my life, no matter what. So I'm thankful for him for sure.
We'll probably do another one of these with Grant, so he will have equal opportunity to respond to what kind of roommate you are. You do know that.
All right, sounds good.
Tyler, how about you? I guess I asked you beforehand because I didn't know Gabe Arizin is your roommate. How did that pairing come to be, and how are you guys?
Yeah, so last year, even this year with the only 2 sophomores, I didn't know them coming in. They told me, I think maybe like 2-3 days before I got out here, who was going to be like my roommate. And ever since day one, me and Gabe just kind of clicked, and we've just been real cool, real good friends. I mean, we do everything together. We go to practice. We take the same classes. Like literally this morning, we woke up at the same time, walked to the same class, left the same class, went straight to the locker room, ate the same thing. Like we do everything together. Like Gilly said, we see everybody every day in the locker room. We go to the gym, whatever it may be. But yeah, we're going real close, definitely closer than last year.
You both come from basketball families. Is there a lot of basketball family talk? We brought up Gabe's family lineage on Tuesday night when we were in Philadelphia and talked about his famous grandfather, who's an NBA Hall of Famer.
Yeah, we do talk about it a little bit. Maybe just like the people we know or the people we've met over time. Because I mean, Gabe's grandfather's a Hall of Famer. He's met some pretty cool people in his lifetime, and so has his family. So I think his stories kind of outweigh mine a little bit. But yeah, we talk about people we've met and whatnot.
Hey, Chris, speaking of roommates, at some point, maybe this was just on the road roommates, but maybe it's even was at home that you tried to pair guys together, you and your staff. Is that something you've still been able to do? I know some of that you couldn't do this year because of the pandemic, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, for the most part, we have over the years tried to have guys to room together. And then I don't think this year we were able to change. You're not allowed to room with somebody you don't room with at home, I believe, as part of the protocol. But over the years, we've tried to, it usually comes down to academics. And we want to make sure that we have one serious student or maybe a little bit more experienced student in the room with maybe somebody who's not quite as ready for college. That's usually the bottom line.
All right, here's the next most popular question, and it goes back to the COVID situation, since you just kind of alluded to it with the rooming situation. This one, interesting the way it was worded. Has there been any positive effects on recruiting for you as coaches that have come out of this pandemic?
I don't think so. I mean,
less time on the road, but I guess you actually want that time on the road when it comes down to it.
Yeah, I would say, it has me doing a lot more carpools at home because I'm home earlier, and with the new facility, we get home a little bit earlier and not traveling recruiting. I don't think there's been anything positive whatsoever. In recruiting, it's difficult because, our biggest draw is our guys and hanging out with our guys and meeting them and playing pickup with them. And then the next thing would be the campus and now the practice facility and the Robbins Center. So we're missing out on all of those things. Now everybody else is missing out on those too. But for us, I feel like when a recruit comes, even if it's an unofficial visit, which was usually a little bit shorter, him hanging out with the guys, playing pickup, seeing how the guys interact, that's our biggest selling point by far.
Again, if you've got questions, and again, I'm going to go to our list from those of you who registered, but you can do it now if you'd like. Use our question and answer feature at the bottom of the screen. The last couple were off of there. We'll get to a couple more as we move along. I guess the other kind of two other popular questions for all of you, and Chris, I'll start with you on the first one. We've talked about the A-10 tournament coming to Richmond, the NCAA tournament being entirely in Indianapolis and kind of in that controlled environment or bubble-like atmosphere. Your thoughts on that? And I know we're looking way ahead and shouldn't be, but for a few minutes, I'm gonna what that might look like once we get to March.
Yeah, I would say that I think the concept of the bubble it'd be really hard to replicate the NBA bubble. Disney World is a bubble, and they were able to go and be the sole tenant of Disney World. So that's really a bubble, and where nobody else is in or out. They were testing every day and able to really pull that off in a great fashion. Everywhere else you go, even if we're in the same state or the same general area, and we were in Indianapolis, and that there are 7 hotels that connect with the convention center where we played, where you don't even have to go outside. But I think, I don't think that eliminates any possibility that somebody could test positive. Maybe it helps a little bit, and it certainly feels like it does because you're monitoring all 68 teams in one state or one city area. So, I think it's probably the best idea they could have, or the best thing they could do, but I don't think it ensures that no one will test positive while they're there.
Here's the next most popular question. This one goes for the guys, for Tyler Burton and for Jacob Gilliard. And I know you've answered this before, but what's it like playing in front of no fans? And what are the differences in playing in front of no fans in the Robins Center and playing in front of empty arenas on the road? And Tyler, I know we talked about that actually on the post-game show Tuesday. So I'll start with you and just the impact it's had on you not to have the crowd either behind you at home or against you on the road.
Yeah, like I said, there's not really a home court advantage other than, I mean, you might shoot there every day or whatever it may be. But yeah, like you don't have fans heckling you or whatever it may be, and you don't have the Robins Center behind you when you hit a big shot or whatever it may be. So you have to come in, bring your own energy. It's a little different dynamic. You have teams like chanting defense and whatnot. But overall, it's a little bit different just because it's quieter, but you still got to bring your own energy.
Jacob, how about for you? And obviously there have been times over the years when you've played to the crowd, you've been an emotional leader on the court, particularly at home, and you really don't have that opportunity to do that right now, unfortunately.
Yeah, it sucks. I think that's the easiest way to describe it. It's not very fun. But at the end of the day, it kind of simplifies basketball. I think you see a lot of teams that get to ride that momentum, and they probably play better than they're really capable of, or teams kind of fall off because of the crowd and don't get to play as good as they're capable of. So I think it really comes down to just basketball at the end of the day, which has been interesting to see. I don't think it's really an advantage for anybody or any one team. But you got to make your own energy. So you're 1 through 15 becomes really important.
And Chris, I know you've mentioned this, that the only time it's really impacted you during the course of a game was right before the game starts, right? When lineups are being announced, the music is being played, and all the great things that our marketing people do at home, and it's being done to 50 people in the building. But once the game starts, you're pretty much into the game.
Yeah, I notice it less so during the game. I don't know about the guys. Like at St. Joe's, they were blasting the pregame music, and we couldn't even hear each other in the huddle. And it's an empty building. I will say, with the officials, they hear everything now, so that has made it a little bit of an adjustment that I'm in the process of adjusting to as we speak. But they hear everything, and they kind of are a little bit more annoyed with the coaches who are on them or trying to communicate as much as possible. So that'd be the one thing that I definitely noticed. But I agree with Jacob more. I mean, it's there's a lot lost in it in games. We were watching the St. Louis Dayton game on the bus on the way back when there's no audio, and that looks fairly normal besides the benches, because you couldn't hear it anyway. But in the game, yeah, it's definitely different, and the things that make college basketball so exciting, a lot of those are missing.
So I really did have the question on here, and it was coming next, and you kind of got to it already. Has the officiating been different this season because of the pandemic? And I guess you kind of answered that, but I don't know if you want to take that any further.
Well, usually not, but I would just say this. It'll be really interesting at the end of the year to look at all those statistics on, road teams winning games, and, the fouls called, home versus road, all those statistics that they keep. That'll just be interesting to look at and see, how traditionally, if there is a benefit, or playing in front of a home crowd is a bigger advantage, not just the energy in the building.
Let me ask this one that just came in, and you had mentioned the practice facility, and this is for all three of you guys. You had mentioned in terms of you don't have to practice as late in the afternoon, when you share with the women's team. How is the new practice facility? What's the biggest difference from prior years now that you're able to be in that facility? Fellas, let me start with you, Tyler.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. It's insane. It's just, everything's so nice. I'm in it right now on like the little academic center we have. It's just so accessible. You just go right upstairs. You can get your homework done. go right downstairs, get any treatment, get a lift, get on the treadmill. You can shoot whatever you want to do. It's just crazy.
Jacob, you obviously had more time in just the Robins Center than Tyler because of the first 3 years. How about your differences that you've experienced?
I mean, it's just different. I'm 3 years into our old facilities, so it's a little new to me, but it's nice. I think the biggest thing about it is I think we use it a little more than we use our old facilities. I think we're in the locker room and the lounge area a little more, which just brings the team together more, which is really fun.
You're starting to sound a little old there, Jacob. That's an answer that I would. Us old guys aren't good with change. Not you younger guys now. Come on now. Chris, there's a rumor that Quealy Athletic Center may have a visitor named Paul Quealy around today, as a matter of fact, isn't he?
Yeah. Paul was in today, came to practice. I know he spoke to Tyler. I don't know if he got a chance to speak to Jacob. Spoke to Nick with some career advice. So yeah, great to see him. Great to have him in here.
All right. Well, you mentioned Nick. Also on the list of questions is how is Nick doing? And then also how is Connor Crabtree doing? And is there hope for him to still play before this season's over?
So yeah, Nick is doing well, has coming along with his rehab very well. He's very different when he's playing versus when he's not playing. Unfortunately, this is the second year he hasn't been playing, but he's very serious and every day the same routine, very much a routine player. When he's not playing, his personality comes out. He kind of leads the bench in terms of cheering for the guys and that kind of thing during the game, very into it. Whereas on the court, he's not really like that. He's pretty serious and doesn't show too much emotion during the course of the game. Connor is doing well. I think he went to the doctor maybe about 10 days ago for an update. His foot is healing. It's coming along. There hasn't been a change to his timeline, which was at 10 to 12 weeks originally, which puts him at early March. So, it's going to be difficult. I hope he can. I hope he comes back and is able to do great. But, just seeing guys when we were on the layoff and coming back, our first time in the gym, there were so many bobbled passes and, passes that were thrown poorly. And it's hard to come back and regain everything, your conditioning, your timing, the feel of the ball, your shooting. It's just a lot to ask. So, I'm hoping that he could and it goes well, but I know that it'll be a really big challenge for him.
Let me go off the court, fellas. One that just came in as well. Outside of basketball, what are your favorite things about being students at the University of Richmond? And I'm going to guess some of them may have been taken away from you because of the pandemic, of no one's fault. But what are some of your favorite things about being students at Richmond? Tyler Burton?
Yeah, so before COVID, just hanging out with friends. But since COVID, probably just playing video games, watching movies, and just hanging with my teammates. I hang out with Gilly a lot. We play video games sometimes. He's not the nicest person to play video games with because he's really good at everything he does. And he doesn't understand that people have to work really hard just to get to his level. So there's that. But yeah, overall, just really hanging out with the guys and just relaxing in my room, watching TV, watching movies, just talking to my family and friends.
How'd you become so good at that, Gilly? Huh?
This kid. Oh goodness. I probably played more than Tyler growing up. I'm older than him. He's still a kid. But I'm gonna sound old again. I would have said my sophomore year, I would have answered the question the same way Tyler would have. But I think my favorite thing about Richmond is just there's a lot of people like you. I think we have a lot of athletes on campus. So getting to meet other athletes and talking to them and making relationships with them has been really cool to see. Kind of, I feel old saying this. Just as I've gotten older, like that's one of the cooler things about this. And then obviously the relationships you build as a student and outside of just your basketball team, you can hang out with people other than your team. Tyler, it's kind of regular to do that, but I like it here. It's a kind of a smaller community, but it's not too small. I feel like you get to meet new people every day, but you get to see old people. I feel like at a different school you wouldn't be able to.
Hey, can you think back, Jacob, to when you came here? I mean, both you guys came from, pretty good distance away. Tyler from up in New England, and obviously Jacob from Kansas City, and what that was like. And if you think back on that now and think about maybe some of the worries or concerns you had about being so far away from home, and now how much of this actually does feel like a second home for you, Jacob?
Yeah, I know my freshman year, I called my mom probably more than I should have. I didn't like being far away from my family. I felt like I was in the gym a lot more than I probably wanted to be back then. I was just trying to take my mind off of not being around my friends and family. It was really weird for me, especially me being such a homebody that I am. But yeah, like you said, this has become a second home. I've made new friends, people I consider family now. You know, I told her my junior year, I was like, I'm so thankful for you to tell me to go here. I love it here for sure.
That's the best thing a mom can hear, I think, and a head coach also, by the way. How about for you, Tyler, coming down from New England?
Yeah, like Gilly, I called my parents a lot. Just kind of dreaded going, like really wanted to go home all the time. Just like, when can I go home? When's the next time I can go home? Is it going to be Christmas? Is it going to be Thanksgiving? Whatever it was. And then I kind of came back and just started moving with the flow of things. And I mean, home doesn't really come to mind anymore. I mean, I love talking to my family and friends, but I'm not homesick anymore, or I'm not longing to go home. If we get to go home, it's great. If we don't, I mean, I'll see my parents someday, hopefully. So.
Mhm. And Chris, I know you were very conscious of, particularly this year, of the length of time these guys, once they eventually got back, and how, quarantined, isolated that they really were since they got back on campus in what, late summer, I guess.
Yeah, in July. Yeah, I think we had to really work hard. A lot of people involved to get our guys back. But then, of course, you're agreeing to the certain protocols that are, only in this situation would apply. And so, the last thing we had to make a big decision on was about Christmas. And, to me, I couldn't entertain the thought of not having the guys go home for Christmas. I just don't think that would have been fair or right. And, I understand there was a risk involved, but to me, it was never a consideration. We have really good guys on our team, and a big part of that is the families they come from. And I don't think it would have been right to keep them away, especially during this year when things just feel so unsettled.
Let me get back to some questions on the court, and we've probably got, I don't know, 10 or 15 minutes, and still got a pretty good long list of questions. So strategically, Chris, I say this one with a smile because I'm going to ask him also. This came from one of our fans tonight. Have you considered letting Tyler jump center?
Great question. Well, yeah, I hadn't really, although wouldn't he have Nate jump center sometimes?
Yeah, I mean they've talked about it. I think Grant's told Tyler if he doesn't really feel comfortable, he would do it. But I think Grant had a really good success rate early on. I mean, I don't know. I forget if he's won the past couple or not, but
There's a stat I've never really tracked before.
Yeah. Yeah, no, Grant did, because I used to joke with him that he would never win any, and so I can remember one of the games he won the jump and looked over at me as he was heading down the court. I would say running down the court, but and he looked over and he was very proud to have won the jump ball. So that's not a bad idea, Tyler.
Tyler, what about it? You ready to get in that jump ball circle at the start of the game?
If Grant wants me to. It's a little different when you have like a 7-footer across from you and you got to jump super early, but I'd be up to it.
Chris, am I hearing you correctly that you're actually allowing Grant to make that decision if he wanted Nate to jump, or is there some coaching strategy on the jump ball that you want these guys in those positions?
Well, we have positions for the guys to be, if you're going to win the jump, then you really have some great strategies. But I think getting the first dead ball is fine too. But yeah, I'm pretty sure Nate's jumped in the past. I'll have to go back and check, but I'd be fine with Grant handing those duties off.
All right. Next year could happen. You know, if those guys aren't around, someone's going to have to jump center next year. And we know Tyler can get up there pretty high above the rim. So he can certainly get up and get that jump ball. Fellas, this one really does come into play. And we've seen it a little bit of late. We were surprised we didn't see it Tuesday defensively from St. Joe's. Would you rather play against a zone or play against a man-to-man? Jacob, as the ball distributor and leader of the offense.
I'd say a man-to-man. I feel like it's kind of, you spend a lot of time working on your offense. I feel like everybody in the country kind of works on their offense. So most of the time you're expecting to go against man. You spend a little bit of time on zone offense, but most of the time you're preparing for man. So I feel most comfortable when the other team's playing a man because we're used to working on our offense like that.
Tyler?
I agree, definitely. I mean, we have a lot of passing and cutting in our offense. Works best against a man.
Chris, we talked about the injured guys, Connor and Nick. Quite a couple questions on here about Andre. Getting him back into the lineup. Is he 100% yet? What's your feeling on Andre Gustafson?
Yeah, I wouldn't say he's 100%. I'd say the last week or so he's practiced, I'd say 50% or more of the practice. So, it's one of those things where rest is what's best for him and makes him feel better. Of course, when you have that much rest, then you lose a little bit of your timing and your confidence and those kinds of things on the court. So, I think he can play more than he played against St. Joe's for sure. But I don't know if he's ready to play, as much as he played in some games earlier this year and last season. He's played games where he's played 23, 25 minutes. But he's doing his rehab. He's working with Adam. He's working on it. And we'll just hope that it gets better and better. And he can, when he is in there, that he can have an impact.
The bench on Tuesday certainly played an impact in that game. Can you speak a little bit to that? And we talked about it post game, not only the points that you certainly would like them to score when they're in there, but just the impact they can have in other areas when they're in the game.
Yeah, I feel like, coming into the season, I thought we'd be one of the deep, certainly the deepest team we've had and maybe one of the deepest teams in the country. And that, of course, that changes pretty quickly. But I feel like those guys have really come along and done a better and better job. And Sal had 2 great practices after the LaSalle game and played very well against St. Joe's. Matt Grace, as I've said, I think I'm, sometimes more confident in what he can do and how he can help us. But he played a very good game and was very aggressive from as soon as he went in the game. And Isaiah, in a different season, if the roster was different, he's good enough to play a lot. It's just he's behind 2 great guards, and it's hard to find him time because I have to take one of those guys out. So, and then I really think Jai is going to be a really good player. I think he has a tremendous sense for the game. He has really, really good instincts. He has good habits. He's a great kid. He works hard. I think he's going to be a really good player. And same thing, if there was different opportunities, he'd be playing a lot more. And but he can continue to push himself and get himself into position to have quality minutes.
So since you're talking about the younger guys, let me go even a little bit younger. A couple of questions that just came in. Can you give any updates? Are there any updates on the incoming class for next year that we've already signed, and their activities, whether it's basketball or not basketball, considering the pandemic, and how much you're keeping tabs on them?
Yeah, for sure. Well, they're all doing pretty well. I would say 2 of them are playing their seasons. 2 of the guys are not playing their seasons. I think the 2 guys who are not playing their seasons are playing more basketball in what you would call AAU events than the guys who are playing their seasons. But yeah, they're doing well. We're excited about the class. We feel like it's a talented class, and some guys that can really play. Recruiting is tricky, and we've never really paid attention. We try to, based on our evaluation, who we think can come in and play and do well, and not worry too much about ratings and rankings, because that's just somebody else's evaluation. But having said that, I think this class we have some highly recruited guys and some guys that we think could be really, really good players at Richmond.
And as a follow-up to that one, are you actively looking to replace Andre Weir in the scholarship that you have available there?
Yeah, sure. This is the most unique year in college basketball because you have immediate eligibility coming with transfers. You have the potential of players staying and playing a fifth year or an extra year. You have the name, image, and likeness rule going into effect where guys can make money. So, all of those things are going to play out over the course of the spring. And so, for us, ideally, we bring in guys who can be here for a while and just learn how we not just play, but go about our business and what's important to us and the culture and whatnot. But you have to keep all options open and look to see what needs you have. I think there are going to be guys who are out there who go to transfer who don't find a landing spot because, how many guys are going to go back to the rosters they were on, which allows you to go over 13 scholarships.
Mm-hmm.
And I think suddenly there aren't going to be as many landing spots for guys. I just think they should be aware of all of those things.
Hey, guys, Coach Mooney mentioned the NIL thing, and I haven't really brought that up much at all, Chris, in our conversations. Jacob, I think it's going to pass you by. I don't think you're actually going to benefit from that. But again, you're being the old guy here. But Tyler, you potentially could. Have you followed that process much at all? And have you thought about it much? Maybe not even in season, because I know you're focusing on other things, but maybe even out of season as what it might mean to you.
No, not really. Maybe that's something I'd have to look into maybe over the off season. I'm here to play basketball, not make money. So I'm here to get my education. So yeah, I haven't really looked too much into that one.
Let's remember that quote, Chris. Okay. I'm here to play basketball, not to make money. Interesting. Now, all kidding aside, have you thought about how you will kind of guide these players, that are returning, that in all likelihood, it seems like this rule is going to come to fruition?
Yeah, well, I think, from our standpoint, the most important thing is going by the rules because it's not just going to be wide open and anybody can accept money from any person. There are going to be rules to it and how you can maximize that and take advantage of it. And yeah, I think we'll try to guide the guys as best we can. And, I think it could be something positive, and it's certainly, it's really unique and interesting. And I think this will be just phase one of it. I'm sure the rules will change over the first few years of it. But yeah, we'll definitely guide the guys and try to help them do the best they can. To me, it's more important what they do with their money than how much money they make. And putting some money away is something that we try to talk about. Jacob, I know over the summer when we were locked down was asking me some questions about finances and having money and looking for that early retirement. I want to try to help them do that as best we can.
Get good financial advisors. That's the advice. Get good people to help you manage that money that you're going to make at the professional level and also potentially still at the college level. All right, time for just a couple more. Let me do one more X's and O's for you, Chris, and then I've got maybe my favorite question on this list for the guys to finish this out. Why do Golden and Grace come out beyond the 3-point line on defense? Seems like it would often allow an opponent to be open around the basket. And I assume he's talking about the hedging that, obviously is part of our defense out beyond the 3-point line.
Yeah, well, good question. I think, there is a trade-off to everything. And, the most important defensive segment or part of basketball at this point is your ball screen defense. And, there are a few different ways to try to do it. But it's hard. You have a guy, not letting the man guarding the ball guard him anymore as he hits him. And so how do you react to that and adjust to that? So, what we try to do is, the guard is trying to help the big guy at all times. The big guy is trying to help the guard at all times. And the best way to help the guard is for the big guy to hedge and make the ball handler not have a direct route to the basket or feel comfortable coming off that screen. So if we can make him back up or take his eyes off of the rim or give the guard an extra split second to get back in front of him, that's what we try to do mostly on our ball screen defense. So it's really asks a lot of the big guy. And Grant has improved dramatically at it. And Matt Grace is actually really, really good at it, has a great sense of timing on it. And then behind them, what we call the tag guy, there's somebody that's responsible for the man rolling to the basket. So it's all going together. And I think if there's no hedge there, we feel like the ball handler feels pretty comfortable coming off of there. And even if he doesn't score, the roller doesn't score, that they're going to have a better possession if they're too comfortable.
Hey fellas, before I ask this last question, let me finish this up because we're gonna get out of here in the next couple of minutes or so. Tomorrow night, that's what we really want you guys focused on right now. What's the excitement level for this one? I think it's getting lost in the shuffle of pandemic and no crowd in the building and that sort of thing. But this is a big time game tomorrow night. This is preseason 1 versus 2 in the conference. They're nationally ranked. Both teams have been very successful. What's your guys' excitement level for, Coach mentioned it earlier, there are still some pretty big time games on our schedule the rest of the way. Tyler, what are your thoughts on the meeting with St. Louis tomorrow night?
Yeah, I'm excited. They're a good team. They're strong. They're tough. They have good rebounders. I could put my rebounding to the test for sure. And anytime you get to come out against a ranked opponent and play on TV, I think it's really important and really big, and just it's what you work for your whole life, to get on TV and just make do with the big moments.
Jacob, what about for you? I mean, I know you have a history with St. Louis, obviously, even more so than Tyler, of course, and you've had some great games against these guys, and they've got some really good guards in their backcourt as well.
Yeah, I think originally before the season started, we probably expected this game to be like St. Louis has lost 1 game, Richmond's lost 1 game, but they're coming off a loss. We're coming off a loss 2 games ago, so I think it's more of a game that both of us that we both need. So it's gonna be a dogfight for sure. Traditionally speaking, St. Louis has been good at the things that we haven't been great at. So it's gonna be about toughness for us. I'm excited. Hopefully we can come out and get the job done.
Absolutely. All right, let me finish it up, fellas. Last question for both of you. I want you to be the great role models that I know both of you are. Comes from one of our viewers here in the last half hour or so. My 5-year-old and my 2-year-old would like to know what advice the players can give for aspiring young basketball players. Now, I'm not sure the 2-year-old asked that question verbatim. I'll probably a little help from mom there, but think about that and think back to your days when you were first starting to play basketball. What advice do you give to our youngsters out there, our 5, 6, 7, 8-year-olds about a basketball career? Who wants to go first? Tyler?
Jacob can take that one first. He's a good leader. He got it.
For a young age, I think the biggest thing to do is to fall in love with the game or play it because you love it. Don't do it because you just kind of like it or because you see other people playing it or your friends are playing it. I think at a young age you want to do it because you really love it. And then as you get older, when you want to become pretty good, you got to understand that you're going to have to make sacrifices. Like anything in life that you want to do and you want to be good at, you got to make sacrifices, whether that's hanging out with your friends or sometimes eating dinner with the family. You got to do what you got to do. So it's a lot of long nights, a lot of early mornings, but I think it's worth it for sure.
Great answer. Tyler?
Yes. So I think you could just have fun with it while you can. At one point it becomes really serious, and that's when you have to decide whether you're in love with it or not. But just really, really enjoy what you're doing and fall in love with the process of getting better. Don't really focus on the end result. Just kind of stick to your roots and remember why you're doing it. And at the end of the day, you're going to be successful if you really stay true to it.
Chris, you got a couple of pretty good spokesman role models right there, I would say. And hopefully your kids are listening to that tonight as well. I'm sure they've heard the same thing from Dad Mooney as well as Coach Mooney.
Yeah, they definitely love the Spiders, man. They love these 2 guys, and they're always asking. I think Ryan asked me if Jacob could play more recently. No, I said there's only 40 minutes, my man. There's only 40 minutes.
Well, that's about 45 minutes for us, so that's enough. Go get dinner and go get ready for tomorrow night and embrace tomorrow night and enjoy it and have a great game. Tyler, Jacob, thank you guys so much for spending the time with us. Really appreciate it. And Coach, I know we've done this before and we'll do it again, and I know our fans really enjoy it as well. So thank you for the extra time this evening.
Great. Thank you, guys.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for viewing us tonight. Again, hey, go online, richmondspiders.com/SAF. Hopefully, you're in a position to help our programs, not only our basketball program, but all of our athletic programs, particularly in these challenging times. If you're in a position to do so, obviously, we would love your support. richmondspiders.com/SAF. All right. Tomorrow night, St. Louis, 6:30. We obviously have it on the radio beginning at 6 o'clock on ESPN Richmond, and you can watch it nationally tomorrow night on ESPN2. I want to thank Ashley Yencho and Jason Vita and Megan Dooley for their help with our webinar tonight. And thank you all for participating, your questions, and tuning in this evening. And we will continue to do these throughout the course of the season to try and keep you engaged with Spider basketball, even though you can't be in the Robins Center, and we miss you being in the Robins Center. We will talk to you tomorrow night from the Robins Center when Richmond hosts St. Louis at 6:30. Thanks for being with us this evening. So long, everyone.